What's up guys, today we're going to go through a few ways that you can increase your DPS while PVMing in the game. There's tons of different ways and things you can do in game that are going to actually affect how much DPS you deal as a character, but DPS is kind of like king in PVM. It really is. The more DPS you do, the shorter your fights are, the less food you're going to eat. So it kind of out counters like tank armor and everything at some point. It definitely makes a big difference. So in this video, we're going to talk about a few ways that you can take advantage of it. Some of the stuff will be for like high level stuff, and some of the stuff will be for like beginners or returning people who are just starting out in PVM, that sort of stuff. Anyway, with that being said, let's go. Let's start off with one that is relevant for everybody, because everybody uses familiars, and this is going to be about familiar use. If you are using familiars, a lot of people tend to not take advantage of, say, scrolls. Say we're going to use a Ripper Demon as an example. Scrolls make a massive difference in DPS. In fact, Ripper Demon with scrolls can absolutely carry your DPS if you are someone who is learning or practicing. It does a lot. It does a hell of a lot. That's not the point of this tip. The point is that you can use familiar management a little bit better to increase your DPS by using the auto fire, and setting that to a rate of 1 will make sure your familiar uses its special attack as often as possible, as you can see me setting it on screen here. And then also you can bring with you some spiritual prayer potions. If I'm ever going PVMing and I'm using a Ripper Demon, I will always replace like super restores or whatever you're using as prayer restore as a spiritual prayer potion, because spiritual prayer potions also restore your familiar's special attack points. So every time you drink one of these doses, your familiar is going to be able to use another special attack or 1 or 2 special attacks depending on its like current points and whatnot, which will give you a little bit of a boost in DPS. Now this is an expensive way to increase your DPS, but it is absolutely still a possible way. Now you have a couple of options with this. You can either down these things through a fight to push your DPS up. So say you were doing Raksha, for example, as you can see me in the background, and you start downing them every single time that you get a second. You're going to force out a lot more damage from your Ripper Demon. Or you can just use these as your replacement for prayer restores, and whenever you do drink one, just because you normally do anyway, this is going to give your familiar a little bit of a boost, and that's pretty much just it. Or you can take advantage of it in a very specific part of a fight. Say you needed to output more damage just during one specific part of a fight, so you can skip a mechanic to not have to deal with it, of course. Then you can start downing these potions while doing other DPS things to make sure you're putting out as much damage as possible just for that segment, and then you go back to normal PVM afterwards. It just offers you another way to press a button and output more DPS immediately. Moving on for number 2. A lot of you guys that are high level probably already done this, but if you are a newer PVMer or someone who's just getting comfortable in PVM, replace those solid foods, those rocktails, those rocktail soups, or the sharks, whatever you're using, with blubber jellyfish. Changing solid foods to blubber jellyfish allows you to still combo it, so you can use the fish and you can use the brew the same as you would have anyway, but it will not reduce any adrenaline. That's like the main thing to this. Now you will of course be losing out on a little bit of healing, as blue blubbers will do less healing than a rocktail overall. But not losing that adrenaline makes a massive difference, and it is something that if you can actually do, because you're in a position where you're comfortable enough now that you don't need that extra healing, you will be much better off. Also, of course, if you do more damage because you have the adrenaline to throw out more thresholds and such, then you cause the fight to be shorter, which means you needed less food overall anyway in most situations. It's kind of how it works. So try it out. Even if you think that, I can't do that just yet, just try it out. Just swap out your rocktails, put in blue blubbers, and see how you go. You can always revert back if you're still struggling. Another way that you can increase the amount of damage you can do in a fight, or shorten a fight basically, is setting yourself up for certain parts of that fight during like phase transitions or downtimes in a fight as well. What I mean by this is there's going to be parts of certain bosses where the boss is immune, or you can't really target him just yet. A great example of this is Masuta in Elite Dungeon 1. During the second phase in here, you're going to be killing off waters around the room or ignoring them depending on what you tend to do, but the boss himself is completely immune to damage. You can't do anything to him, and you're just waiting for the next phase basically before you can move on. But before this phase ends, and before you start the phase where you can deal damage to him again, ready your character up. Whether this is using natural instinct so you can get more adrenaline and then get yourself ready in that way, or a necromancy, making sure you have a full stack of souls and a full stack of necrosis ready to go as well. And then as soon as that boss is targetable again, you can unleash everything on him straight away, dealing as much damage as possible. Now you can also use this in other cases where maybe the boss isn't actually immune, but you can get a lot more out of a fight by preparing for the next phase and slowing down on this current one. An example of this would be the flight skip at Zamorgul and Vorkath, because in this fight all you need to do is actually kill Zamorgul. It doesn't matter if you kill Vorkath or not. If you kill Zamorgul, then Vorkath just leaves. So what you can do is when Vorkath is about to fly away and you know it's going to happen, have your character prepared with full necrosis, full soul stacks, or whatever you're going to do, and then as soon as you're able to target Zamoragal, you just drop everything on him straight away. You put on your bleeds, you put on your death mark, you use your smoke clouds, you use your vulnerability bombs, everything before Zamoragal's even attackable, and then as soon as he is, you drop everything on him and you completely skip the rest of the fight. So this will become easier with time when you start practicing PVM more and you get more comfortable with specific fights and stuff and timings and whatnot, but it is definitely something you can take advantage of. I just wanted to quickly mention that I have dropped some new merch and you can check it out over on the merch store. There'll be a link in the description and the pinned comment. But the main item right now is this custom gaming mouse mat, which is 900 by 400 wide and will come with your RuneScape name on it and a little message from myself. On the reverse, there's a label to show you which number of mat yours is out of the limited amount. As these are all going to be custom made, they will take between 2 and 3 months as of when you place the order to actually be shipped. So if you're interested, check that out and check out the other items on there too. Moving on, we're going to talk about an ability that I forget to use all the time myself, but recently I've started using it more and it is definitely worth using. It is insanely good, and that is Bloat. Now, Bloat on Necromancy is an ability that for some reason I just couldn't seem to fit into my rotations because it just didn't seem to fit anywhere. It costs adrenaline, the other ones don't. You use Death Skull, then you got your Living Death, and during Living Death you just want to use your Finger of Death abilities and stuff, and when do you use Bloat? But overall, Bloat will deal around about 525% ability damage on average, right? And this is without using like Split Soul, and this works incredibly well with Split Soul. So if you use this during your Split Soul rotation, you are going to be getting a absolute crap ton of damage for 20% adrenaline. Now don't get me wrong, it does feel a little bit weird to use in certain situations, so if anyone has a specific timing that they use this, drop it down in the comments below. But fitting this into your Split Soul rotation, having this there and just ticking away for 19.8 seconds is an absolute ton of bonus damage. To put it into perspective, Bloat itself will do more damage in total than a Dark Bow spec will, and we were spending 65% adrenaline to use a Dark Bow spec, and that's without using Split Soul. So if you thought that was strong, using a Bloat plus Split Soul is insane. So if you're not using Bloat, then you definitely should be. You want to pair this with the Ghost spec and Split Soul, and the amount of damage you get from it is just crazy. This one is an oldie but a goodie, and I wanted to reuse it from, I think the last time I talked about this was like 2022 maybe. This is a tip for you guys that aren't using Necromancy, so you're going to be taking advantage of using magic and range with Death Swiftness and with Sunshine. Now if you didn't know, if you use a Sunshine or a Death Swiftness, but you're also using Maniacal or Reckless, now this may work for melee with Berserk and Berserk Aura as well, but I don't know for sure, so we'll just talk about these two. If you are using that, they don't stack. You will only get the damage buff from your Sunshine or your Death Swiftness and not the actual Maniacal or Reckless during that time. So think of it like this: as soon as you use Sunshine, your Maniacal Aura is kind of just not doing anything for that Sunshine duration. However, on the last tick of your Sunshine, they will actually stack, meaning that if you time an ability that hits pretty hard, like an Omni Power with the Zut Cape for example, or use Detonate and Wild Magic, or with ranged maybe use a Dark Bow or something like that, then they will stack on that last tick. So you can get out a little bit of extra DPS by timing this correctly. You can use your last tick of your Sunshine and it will stack with your Aura at the same time, and you can force out some massive hits from this timing. So if you are one of the few people not using Necromancy, this is a tip you can take advantage of if you didn't already know. And there you go, there's 5 tricks you can take advantage of while PVMing to increase your DPS and make just the fights a whole lot better anyway. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like, sub to the channel if you are new around here, and also don't forget to check out the merch store if you're interested in seeing what's on there too. But otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later guys, bye.